on. Not on my leg. Not on my leg. You gotta be on the pillow, baby. I can't let you be on my leg. Oh, good morning, everybody. Good morning, and welcome. Now that I'm recuperating from this thigh muscle injury, I really enjoy making videos so far every day that I'm having to stay down because I go crazy. I'm not one who does well just laying down or sitting down and doing nothing. I am going crazy. And making a video really helps me, and reading your comments and responding to as many as I can. Because normally for me, I respond the first day, almost every one. And after that, I kind of, it's like, but I want you to know I read each and every one of your comments, every one of them. But yeah, so today I thought, you know what, I just showered. I'm pulling the loosest clothes I have in my closet out to wear, like this sweatshirt, and they're kind of pajama bottoms type thing, because my body is so sensitive right now to any discomfort because of the ongoing pain from my thigh muscle, if that makes sense to you. So yeah, I'm just throwing whatever I can on that's very loose and not restricting at all, and it's actually very helpful. But yeah, I'm still recovering. Pain's not there. Had to run to the grocery store to get some green tea because I drink that every day. And I was moving like I was 90. I mean, swinging both my legs out of the car, pushing myself up on the bottom part of the car door there, or where it opens, pushing myself up so I didn't just use my thigh, and then limping as I went into the store. I felt like an old lady. But I just got that and came back home, and I thought, nope, that was enough. That was enough to cause a little aggravation, so I'm staying down. So anyway, the reason I'm making this video is just because the thought came to my mind. Nothing set it off. I was thinking about my video that I made about loneliness yesterday, I guess, in a way, something. But I have to say, as my title says, I married the wrong one. Yes. Now, mind you guys, I got married the first time I was 18. How foolish is that? Seriously foolish. I got married when I was 18. It lasted, 3 years. I had one child in that marriage. That one, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like it doesn't even matter in my life because I was young, and when you're young and foolish, oh, I'm in love, when it's really infatuation. And then that died off very quickly. He was a very heavy drinker, had to have his beer every single day of his life, just drink, nonstop. And then he became abusive, so I was like, yeah, that was that. And I'm glad that actually he filed for divorce for me, and I'm very, very grateful. I couldn't imagine how I was dumb enough to keep staying with this guy, and dumb enough to stay with the second one. But what this is about is, first let me tell you, with my second marriage, you're going to have to put this aside when I'm talking about what I'm going to talk about. My second husband was very abusive, very physically abusive. I ended up with more than my share of cuts and bruises and punches and kicks and chokings and you name it. And I foolishly stayed with him for 22 years. And then the last 6 years of our marriage, he got involved in crack. He became a severe drug addict, which was very difficult to cope with. But after 6 years of that, I divorced him because I couldn't take the drug use as well as the abuse from him that came with it. And just so you know, 5 years after our divorce, he did commit suicide, which is very sad for my children to not have their father, but that is what happened. But talking about the second marriage, which lasted 22 years, the reason I say I married the wrong one I'm talking about personality wise. This is strictly about personality. Um, my second husband was what you would call kind of reserved, kind of laid back. Aside, believe it or not, aside from the abuse, like I say, you got to take that out of the equation here. Um, he he had a very, I don't know, what I call a reserved, laid back type of personality. And before I met him, I'm telling you, because I was divorced for 5 years after my first marriage, before I got married again. I loved just being silly sometimes, right? Just being silly, break out a dance, or just be silly and I don't know, just be lighthearted, right? Oh my gosh, when I was single, I lived a life it was wonderful then. I was young, I was in my 20s. The apartment complex I lived in, oh my gosh, we were all friends. We would be at each other's apartment every day. We would even leave notes on our door back in the day when you didn't have to worry about everything. But we would leave notes on the door. I'm in apartment AC or whatever, you know. In case one of our friends came looking for us, they'd know where to go find us. That's how close we all were. It was really wonderful. We all helped each other. We were there for each other. We took care of each other. It was such a wonderful situation. I was a very happy woman, young woman. Well, then I got married to the second husband, and I don't know what was wrong with me. I didn't stop to, I don't know. You know, guys, I have to be honest. I'm not sure why I let myself get married to him, other than, and I'm going to freely admit it, I got pregnant. Yes, I did. I got pregnant with my daughter. But when I got pregnant, I told him, I sat down with him and I told him, you do not have to marry me. We do not have to get married just because I'm pregnant. If you want to walk away, you can walk away and never turn around again. And I did. I sat down and told him that. But he said, no, I love you. Let's get married, blah, blah, blah. So we did get married. But through the years, I will freely admit, part of my biggest frustration, which may have added to the difficulties in our marriage, was that he was so reserved. And I remember the first few times that I broke out into a dance. I was in the kitchen, you know, when we were first together. I was in the kitchen and I was doing dishes, and I just kind of broke into a dance and singing, you know, just being kind of lighthearted and silly. And he didn't say anything mean, but the look he gave me was more like, what's wrong with you? And that's when it all began, that I started realizing I couldn't be me. I could not be who I am. I still like to do that, and I do it with my dogs. I'll get my dog's front paws and I will dance with them, and I will sing to them, and I will talk to them and laugh and be silly. I'll get on Google and tell her to tell me a joke just to hear something silly. And like with my grandkids, I like to be silly, you know. I like to, get over here, you little cutie, you know, that type of thing. That's who I am. That's not who he was. And it affected a lot because I felt like I could not be me. I'm sure a lot of you may understand. You know how they say opposites attract? Well, I think they can. But I also feel that in a lot of cases, not all of course, but in a lot of cases, those opposites end up being the downfall of that marriage or relationship. Because I would get very angry. I'd get very frustrated and angry when I was feeling that lightheartedness and he was over there being very reserved, kind of laid back, you know. He didn't have, I guess you could say I'm an extrovert. I'm outgoing. I love people. I like to I'm an outgoing personality. I'm like, hi, how you doing? You know, that type of thing. I go to the grocery store and I'll walk up to somebody I've seen a million times, you know, hi, how are you doing? And the workers, you know, oh, doing good, how about you, you know. I'm an outgoing personality. He was not, at least not while I was married to him. I don't know what he was like after the divorce, because once we got divorced, That was it. Never had anything to do with him again. Never talked. Never saw each other. Nothing. It was over and done. So I don't know what he was like in the 5 years after our divorce. But while I was married to him, he was just too reserved. And I should have stopped. You know how they say when you marry somebody, you marry their family? I should have stopped to see that too. But I guess I was too young and foolish in my 20s, early 20s. But his father was not the most likable person, that's for sure. Not at all. His mother was very subservient to him. Whatever he said went. That was it. You know, I mean, I remember one time she invited me to their house and I went. And she went up way high into this cabinet in the kitchen and brought down some, I can't remember if they were cookies. They were some kind of sweet, like, treat. But they were in a box. And she brought them down. She goes, maybe you want one of these. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, don't let him know we're eating this. Don't let him know. And I remember thinking, what? You know, I mean, what? Nobody's going to tell me what to eat. But I should have seen that, you know, with their relationship and how his father was. His dad was not the nicest, friendliest person at all. And and his brother was the same way. His brother, anytime that we went to visit his parents, because his brother lived with him, and they were adults, mind you, his brother would go into his room. That would be it. We'd walk in, he wouldn't even say hello. He'd just walk into his room and shut the door. I mean, how unsocial can you be? So I never really got to know his brother. I mean, I didn't care for him at all. That was how we were greeted every time we'd come over. So I should have noticed their personalities and how they reacted and how they were. There was no silliness. There was no lightheartedness in that family. And I should have stopped to think about that. But, you know, hindsight is 20/20. But yeah, I really believe that if you marry somebody with a personality that's too opposite of, or not necessarily marry, but decide to spend your life with somebody that's too opposite in personality, it can really be a detriment to that relationship. Because I still do. I like to be silly. I like to be silly. I like to chat. I like to be outgoing. I like to get to know people. I like to hear the details, you know, the gritty details of their lives and that type of thing. Because to me that creates a bond. It creates a connection. When somebody's just always, you know, oh, everything's good, everything's fine. Yeah, forget it, you know. And so I admit that during this time, how can I put it? I would feel frustration and anger all the time because I wanted to be who I was. I wanted that silliness to come out. I wanted to break out into a dance or a song or just, you know, just be funny, just be silly. I couldn't. I could not do that with him. Not in any way, shape, or form. I call it a reserved personality. A lot of people might have said a very boring personality, and it's not to put him down because of his personality. Forget about the other stuff, but concerning the personality, it's not to put him down. That's who he was. That's what his personality was. But for me, I will be honest and say I found him to be extremely boring, just extremely boring. And no imagination, no, how can I put it, no imagination into being just, I don't know, being kid-like sometimes. If you completely lose that kid-like stuff inside of you, I think you become a very dull person, very, very dull. And that's just me. That's what I like. I like a person who can let that kid side out, you know, just be silly and just be, I don't know, just lighthearted. And he didn't have that. Not while I was with him. He did not have that. And I should have stopped to think about all that while we were dating because, you know, we'd go out to bars, you know, when you're in your 20s, we'd go out to bars and and go to restaurants, that type of thing. And there were times when we'd go out and I'd be like, oh my God, can you show a little more life in here, Can you? And then when I'd say, let's go dance, he'd be out there just kind of, and I'd be like, I want to dance, I want to be silly. I should have opened my mind more to who I was with. But when I got pregnant and he said, let's get married, I figured that was the best thing to do. I mean, a child was coming into the world. Better to have two parents. Except not in this case. So, yeah, I guess what I'm telling you is if you're with somebody and don't ever, especially you women, don't ever ignore that gut feeling. I remember having that gut feeling when we'd be together. And I'd be like, ooh, why am I not thoroughly enjoying myself out with him right now? I mean, really enjoying myself. I need somebody who can be silly, joke around, be lighthearted, be conversational, be able to really carry on a conversation, just be alive. You know what I mean? Really be full of life. Just have that spark. You know what I'm talking about. Have that spark where you can, hi, come on in, how are you? Come on, not somebody who's, hi, oh, how's it going? That's good. Yeah, well, you come on in, No, I could not be with somebody like that. I could not be with somebody who wants to be isolated all the time, somebody who wants to just sit in a corner all the time, somebody who wants to just, maybe be in the corner reading a book all the time or whatever. I couldn't do that. And I'm not, and maybe I shouldn't use book as an example, because when you get into a book, you really want to read it, and I understand that, but you know what I mean. Somebody who just kind of wants to be off by himself all the time because he's so reserved and so kind of isolated in his personality. That's just not for me. And at my age, I'll be 70 in April, not very likely I'm going to find somebody who's got that kid-like personality in them, because so many men and women, by the time they're this age, if they've been through one or more marriages, seems like a lot of them are very, very bitter, which is very understandable if you've had some really bad experiences. I had being beaten and kicked and punched and threatened and told that my life was going to be ended for $100 or something like that. Believe me, it was a rough marriage. But I still have that kid-like inside of me, because that's just who I am. I mean, and it's weird because when I was a little girl, I was extremely shy. I mean, I was very, very shy. Oh my God. If the teacher sat me in front of the class in the front row, I about died from a heart attack as a child. I was so shy. I don't know where the other part came out, but I am an extrovert, so I could never be with someone who's an introvert or just not full of that life. There's a line in Under the Tuscan Sun, the movie Under the Tuscan Sun, where the one woman says, what is it? She says, never lose your childlike qualities, or something like that. Never lose your childlike something. And I agree with that, because when you do, I think you become a very boring person. And that was a huge issue in our marriage. And I admit that caused me so much frustration and anger that, and I'm not lying to you when I tell you this, there were days I would sit there and look at him and think, I'm going to lose my mind if I don't see some kind of silliness come out of you. Just silly, just downright silliness. Not just a joke, anybody can tell a joke, but you know what I'm talking about, right? That lively personality where you can just feel the lightheartedness. Like there's a guy that works at a local little corner store here. Where I live, they changed the 7-Elevens to a DK. The letters DK. They're now DK instead of 7-Eleven. Well, he works at the local DK right around the corner from me. And he is this wonderful guy. He's this gay guy, right? And he's very proud of who he is, and I'm proud of him for being proud. And he has got this personality that I can be down in the total doldrums, I mean, at rock bottom, and I can go into that little store to buy something, and just talking to him for a minute or two, I am lifted. My spirit is lifted because he's just so, he's got that happy, outgoing. I'll walk in and what does he do? He'll look up and, hey Lori, how's it going? How are you doing today? You know, that kind of personality. And I'll be like, oh, I'm just really down and out today. Oh, come on, it could be worse, come on. He just has that thing about him, you know? And I love that. I love that so much. So anytime I go into that store, I walk like I went today. I went today to DK, and I walk in with my limping leg, you know, because I decided I'm going to get what they call a frazzle. It's a delicious drink. Oh, I love it. It's an icy type of drink. Oh, I love them. So I decided to get one before I settle down for the day because of my leg. I'm going to still take it easy. And I walk in there and he's just got that livelihood about him, you know, where you want to smile as you're talking to him. You just want to, you know, you just kind of, he just lights up your mood immediately. That if I could find a straight guy with his personality, I would be in heaven. I'd be in absolute heaven. Because there's not one time, and I mean we're going on for a long time now, there's not one time I haven't walked into that store that I didn't walk out either smiling or just feeling better about my day. He's very outgoing, very talkative. He'll share things with you. He'll share what's going on in his personal life, which automatically drew me to him, like, oh, he's sharing all the details of his life. And I love that because it does make me feel closer to a person, like, wow, they're sharing with me. And that makes me feel closer and care about them a lot. I mean, I love that guy. He's just a sweetheart. And he'll tell me about what's going on in his life, or how his husband is doing, or how he was working in the yard and all this, and you know, like today he was telling me he got real sick with what they think was RSV, and he was real sick for 3 weeks. And you know, he talks to me about everything in his little details that just drew me to him. It's like, oh, I love this guy. He likes to share and talk. Well, that's what I need in a man, and I did not have in that marriage. He was just too reserved for me, and like I say, it's not to put him down concerning his personality. Now, concerning the abuse, that's a whole different story, but we're talking strictly about personality. That's who he was. That's who he was, and you need to be aware of that. Those of you that are in a relationship, or maybe you're engaged, or maybe you're planning to get engaged and married, really stop and think about the person you're with. Can you really deal with who they are on a daily 24/7 basis? I foolishly got married because I was pregnant, and he was like, I love you, you know, oh, I love you too, type of 20-something-year-old stuff. And like I say, hindsight is 20/20, and I look back now and I think about everything that occurred before we ever got married, and even after we got married, and I think, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? Because when I met him, I was working, and I knew guys at work. I used to work for the phone company when I met him, and I knew guys in the phone company they were great. They were funny, they were lighthearted, and I don't know, they were just, you know, really fun to be around. Not that I'm saying somebody's going to be fun 24/7, but you know what I'm saying. Their personality as a whole, and I remember those guys. They were funny. There was one who I even ended up dating him for a while. His name was Jerry, and we dated for a while, and he was a nice guy and everything, but with that wonderful personality, there were other sides to him. I thought, no. Yeah, let's just put it this way. He dabbled in cocaine. Wasn't wasn't a or a drug user all the time, that type of guy, but he would dabble in cocaine. And I thought, no, I'm done with that. But there were other guys that didn't do that, and they had great personalities, but I was not attracted to them. You got to be attracted to some degree to somebody. And they had wonderful personalities. I remember them. I think back now and I'm like, why wasn't I thinking for myself in terms of personality? So you got to be really sure out there if you're with somebody or planning to be with somebody long term or married, whatever. Really be sure you like their personality, their quirks, their little, how they make you feel when you're around them. Do they make you feel good when you're around them? I didn't feel that. Even when we were dating, I remember being kind of nervous to go out and date, like, don't really want to go. I wasn't thinking. I just wasn't thinking that was my gut. That was that red flag saying, this is not the right personality for you, Lori. It is not, it is not, it is not. I didn't pay attention to that, and I should have. So yeah, if I can't be around somebody who brings out the best in me to where I can be my silly self sometimes, and he can't be that way, it would never work. I could never be with a very reserved, quiet, mild-mannered, let's say mild-mannered type of personality. I could never do it. I would be bored the first date. That would be it. I'd be like, this last date. And that did happen to me at one point when I was dating from online. I met a guy, we met up, and I am telling you, within about 10-15 minutes I knew, oh my God, this guy is boring. I walk in there and he's like, hi, how are you? Good to see you, sit down, let's, that type. I was like, oh my God, I got through the date and never saw him again. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to, like I said, now that I'm recuperating from this thigh muscle injury, I hope you don't mind that I may not get on every day, but it's helping me because everybody's going on about their lives. They have to. They can't sit here and be with me. I'm alone with my two precious babies. And sometimes you just need to talk, especially when you're an extrovert and you're an outgoing personality. You want to talk to people. You want to just relate to people somehow. And then when I read your comments, well, I can't tell you what it does for me. Like I say, I may not get back to all of you, but I do need you to know that I do read all of them, and it means the world to me. And once again, if you like my channel and my videos, please, 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 please like and subscribe, because it helps a little bit of income for this single mom. It really helps. It's not a lot, but the little bit that it is does help me, and I appreciate it. But anyway, guys, I just kind of, I don't know, I don't want you to make the same mistake I did. I didn't open my eyes to everything. I should have opened my eyes to watching his family, how their personalities were. I should have really paid much better attention, and I might have avoided 22 years of very painful marriage. And like I say, it's not to put him down for his personality, leaving the abuse stuff aside. That's who he was. And that created a lot of anger and frustration inside of me because I could not be who I am, who I wanted to be, who I was before I met him. I was very different before I met him. And I feel better about that now because I can be me now. I can be silly. I can joke with my grandkids. I can just be whatever, send them silly TikToks and silly videos about this or that. I can do that. I didn't feel I could be that way with him. So think about who you're with and how it might affect you in the long term, because personalities that are opposite can really be a huge downfall later on in life. When you least expect it, it's like one day you blow up and think, I can't take this anymore. I can't be me. And that's not healthy and that's not good. And either for the other person too. So anyway, guys, I'm going to relax on the couch again. It's killing me. It's driving me insane to just be